Hi there. I'm doing a quick live demo of a portrait painting. I hope it's going to work. I've loaded a drawing of process drawing of turning letters into people, and I'm just going to do a straightforward one in 15 minutes. I give myself literally 15 minutes to create a painting, and it is I'm going to use a mob brush, a dagger brush, designer brush, a triangle brush possibly, and these are all by Rosemary & Co. And I'm using Core Golden's acrylic paint, and this is a little rough sketch of what I'm planning to do. If it doesn't work, I'm really doing this quite impromptu. I'm not going to do one as elaborate as this one. This one I'm still working on, and I will upload that into Instagram stories later. So I'm going to keep it really simple, and I've just given myself a little outline drawing as a sort of marker to work on, but I'm going to go sort of a little bit freestyle here. And it really is daunting, I have to say. It is quite daunting. So I have here watercolor paint, which I've just splattered there a little bit. So I'm gonna sort of follow the contour and just create shape of a head. That is too much paint. So I am diluting it a bit with water. And I might keep the colors literally really, really, really limited. If I go really quiet, it's because I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm doing. And hopefully this will work. As I say, if it doesn't work, then it is a bit of a lesson in play. So I'm saying this to excuse myself. So I'm working quite watery and then adding the color in it. So it's about playing and allowing yourself to play. And if it doesn't work, then you will still learn from it. So it's about the fact that nothing is ever wasted when you make art. And that's a very important lesson, because sometimes people put so much pressure on themselves to get it right, to get it to be good, that you don't always do it just sort of for the process. And it is really important to allow that to happen as well. I don't do very many portrait paintings. I used to be a ceramicist, a figurative ceramicist, and also it is so much easier when you don't do it sort of under pressure. When I just do it, when I really just play. But let's go. I'm just adding sort of blobs of color, I would say, blobs of paint, and applying them in a way so I can create this face. I'm keeping the eye area completely white, and I'm adding a bit of watery paint there. I'm working on a lovely Arches aquarelle aquarelle paper, and which is quite forgiving and always helpful as well in when you create a painting. I'm creating the neck outline there, and then very, very lightly, I'm painting a line that could almost be erased. I haven't got any pencil lines on the painting here, and there I am adding a blob of color, and I just give myself a bit of space there to move, sort of working really sort of wet on wet as well. And sometimes what's also good when you work really impromptu and giving yourself a time limit is to really just work in that time and not to overwork it, but see sort of what you can create in that time with the limit of the paint, sort of what the paint will allow you to do, and just getting getting the most out of that. I am, because it's so wet on wet, it's probably not going to dry really quick enough. So I might add detail to it later. I'm moving back to sort of a brownish paint. I want to create a sort of a shape like an ear there. And on the other side, sort of a bit more of a skin tone. And then here I'm linking that up. And adding a bit of, this is Payne's Grey. I'm only working with watercolor paint. I'm not using ink or anything else. And I'm in the same time creating these areas of the ink just flowing and creating sort of darker bits inside it. At this point, the painting does not look particularly feminine or masculine, which I'm fine with. And I would typically, if I had my own time, probably allow myself to have a little bit of time to let it settle and dry, but I'm not going to do this. I'm sort of painting on. Now I want to add a little bit of color for the lips, for the mouth, and I'm using the brush that's come out very magenta, more magenta than I meant to, and I'm going to dab it with a piece of kitchen towel. Take a bit of that out of there, a bit of this out of here, so it just doesn't, it pulls a bit. And as I said, if I had more time, I would allow that probably to dry, like that, but I'm adding just a smudge of color there, and I'm doing the same here. And then, because I said I was going to use the other brushes as well, I'm using a designer brush. This is a lovely, it says designer brush, it's sort of a watercolor brush, very fine tip, and I'm going to sort of give it a bit of a, I'm using the brush to sort of working with the shape of the brush to sort of give that sort of mouth lip finish. And then, just because it is actually bothering me, I'm going to do a little bit of a marking in the eye as well, just to help the eye to look in a direction. I'm adding a very small amount of this cobalt turquoise color. It's called cobalt teal that is, and I'm going to darken it still, but I want to have that little flash of blue there, and then I am repeating it in some other places in the painting as well. It's maybe not completely sensical, but it makes it sit fine once you have the bits sort of all fitting together. It will look, it helps to give it a bit of unity. Okay, so I'm going to work with the triangle brush. So this brush, it's very pointy, but it's very flat as well. And I'm sort of, again, applying color, very selectively. I'm adding more Payne's Grey, a little bit more detail, but sort of allowing also for some marking, but it has a reservoir of a lot of paint in it as well. And I want to sort of create an eyebrow line. That's too much color there. So I'm getting some of that away, and then adding the darker mark there. Doing the same there. Now this, if I now add this black to it for the pupil of the eye, and I go into the blue, it will it will bleed into it. I can't do it on that side, so I'm having to wait a little bit. I will finish this up and show it later, but so I'm trying to see what I can do with the black on black that's not going to sort of ruin it, but allows me to complete the painting. And I have about 5 minutes left before my 15 minutes are up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to treat the two eyes differently. This one has a bit of purple in it, giving it a bit of purple and a bit of shading. And as I said, I will probably have a pupil there, but I'll do a crisp black for that later. And this one I'm making a little bit of purple coloring there as well. And I am adding to the shading there. I'm not using paint spray, I'm using a purple color so that it's a bit softer than and a bit more of a color in it than the Payne's grey. And then I'm going to use a slightly sharper red, may or may not work. I'm going to add that to give a bit of definition there, adding a bit in the eye, and then again just in a few places. Just playing a little bit with color. And because I've got the construct here, I've got the head sort of recognizable, I can play a little bit with color by adding colors, maybe blobs in places, just a little bit. And because it has this orange and the blue, you see the teal, and then this reads as orange, it sort of kicks off each other as well. So I'm doing that, but a little bit selectively. I would love to have a bit of that right in the eye as well. To wait still. And I can't really, if I were to put it in there now, I think it will bleed, as in it will, but I'll leave that for now there. So again, what I was saying earlier on is, if it doesn't quite work out the way I intended it, then I excuse myself by saying it's good to play. It's good to play with a time limit. It's good to try something out. It's so you have to sort of play with the idea of, what can I do in 15 minutes? And as I said, it's therefore it looks quite wet on wet. The technique is quite having the paint, the one color on top of the other one. I am going to finish up the demo, and then I will post this later when completed as a final painting. But thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy your Easter weekend. Thank you for everyone joining in with April illustration. And also, that is why I'm doing a portrait, because today's theme is people. The prompt is people, and that's why I did the painting with the letters. You can still join in. You can still use all the prompts if you wish, or some of them, or combine them. I've created them, and there are some wonderful artists who've joined me with it. You can check them out if you look up August Wren and Terry Runion and Monica Fosberg. So if you look them up on Instagram, they were wonderful in their creations, and they've done some live demos as well. So yeah, thank you very much, and enjoy your weekend. You can see this one I will upload probably in stories a little bit later. Bye.